Boom, January 31st. Hey friends, this is your buddy Carl with the daily Bible reading. And again, time shift, life happens, work is happening. I just encourage you, don't be discouraged by busyness, by your job, by school, by, I didn't read today. Don't panic. Just pick up where you are. It is January 31st. I'm going to do the daily Bible reading, but sometimes I've even done these and overlapped, or I miss a day and then I just keep checking the calendar, and sometimes it takes a few more days than a year, or maybe a year and a half, because if you're engaged with life and things happen. And the worst thing would be is you get discouraged and you give it up. Don't give it up. Just keep feeding on your spiritual veggies, the word, and so many things like that. Daily stuff. It might be you miss this, but you are listening to somebody teach or preach. It's kind of like eating food or drinking water. You drink and sustain your being. This is your spiritual life. And so be encouraged. Stay plugged in however it works. But today we're going to start with January 31st, the last of January. And here we've done a month already. So we are at Exodus 12:14, and this is getting to the end of the plagues and the deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt. So let's pick it up here. Verse 4, chapter 12 of Exodus, verse 14. This is a day to remember. Remember, this is Passover now, the first Passover. Each year, from generation to generation, you must celebrate it as a special festival to the Lord. This is a law for all time. Okay? Take note of that here, but realize that, Jesus is coming. He is the Passover lamb. Verse 15, for 7 days the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove every trace of yeast from your homes. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during the 7 days of the festival will be cut off from the community of Israel. Ooh, the Lord is being strong here at this first Passover. On the first day of the festival, and again on the seventh day, all the people must observe an official day for holy assembly. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. So the Lord does allow celebrations to celebrate what He's done. Remember, His Passover is that. 17, verse 17. Celebrate this festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind you that I brought your forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. Interesting phrase in this translation. Brought your forces, the strength of your people, Israel, out of Egypt. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate this day from generation to generation. The bread you eat must be made without yeast. From the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. During those 7 days, there must be no trace of yeast in your homes. Anyone who eats anything made with yeast during this week will be cut off from the community of Israel. These regulations apply both to foreigners living among you and to the native-born Israelites. During those days you must not eat anything made with yeast. Wherever you live, eat only bread made without yeast. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel together and said to them, go, pick out a lamb or your young goat for each of your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin. Then take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip it into the blood. Brush the hyssop across the top and the sides of the door frames of your houses, and no one may go out through the door until morning. Wow. For the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians. But when He sees the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe, the Lord will pass over your home. He will not permit His death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. Remember, folks, The Lord is laying this out for the Jewish people. And this is why Jesus had to come, to fulfill the regulations of the law and the Passover. Now, Orthodox Jews nowadays, I would imagine, do the same. I'm not familiar with that custom as a Gentile, and we honor the Jewish people. But we have to remember, as we're pointing to New Testament, Old Covenant is always a shadow of the things to come, the fulfillment of things to come. But we honor that, and we honor the Lord in remembering this amazing time in history. Okay, remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. When you enter the land of the Lord, when you enter the land the Lord has promised to give you, you will continue to observe this ceremony. Then your children will ask, what does this ceremony mean? And you will reply, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. And though he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families. When Moses had finished speaking, all the people bowed to the ground and worshiped. That is a strong visual of worship to the Lord, bowing to the ground. That is actually one of the meanings of the word worship. Very important to remember, though, the deeper meaning of worship is to bow your soul, your being. People could you could fake any physical activity. The bowing of your spirit, of your soul to the Lord is true worship. Side note, moving on, we're still in 12, verse 28. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron, and that night at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Wow, Lord. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. I mean, such a tremendous judgment and sign. Not one firstborn was spared, except those that were in the homes covered with the Passover blood. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. Ugh. Wow, Lord. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. Get out, he ordered. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you said, and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, we will all die. They thought this was a coming wave, like the firstborn are dying and dead. They're thinking the whole nation's going to be wiped out. So they're surely now broken. The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks, carried them on their shoulders, and the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. I'm not sure that the Egyptians were being favorable as much as they were scared. They're just like, whatever it takes to get the Israelites out of here. But I'm sure there were those that felt like the favor of God was with them. Verse 37, that night the people of Israel left Ramses and started to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children. Wow. So all the women and children. So we're probably thinking definitely easily over 1 million and more. A rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread they baked flat cakes from the dough without yeast they had brought from Egypt. It was made without yeast because the people were driven out of Egypt in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare the bread or other food. So the Lord's point of having no yeast was the fact he knew they'd be traveling as they ate. There was not time to wait on bread to rise or dealing with baking like that. It was strictly no yeast. Powerful. The people of Israel had lived in Egypt for 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year by all the Israelites from generation to generation. I can't unpack here the significance of the very end of the 430th year. If you're into scriptural studies, remember that that's a very significant marking of time in the Jewish calendar and the calendars of history. So just got to add that as a side note. Verse 43, then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, these are the instructions for the festival of Passover. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal, but any slave who has been purchased may eat it if he has been circumcised. Temporary residents and hired servants may not eat it. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. Gotta tell you, a shadow of Jesus coming. His bones were not broken. The Passover lamb, Jesus Christ, was not broken either. Significant spiritual, prophetic writing here. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this Passover festival. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Wow. Only then may they celebrate the Passover with you like any native-born Israelite. But no uncircumcised male may ever eat the Passover meal. This instruction applies to everyone, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among you. So all the people of Israel followed all the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. So that's Exodus 12 up to 51. And we are going to read on here, 12 all the way through 13, actually. And here we go, chapter 13 up to verse 16. So then the Lord said to Moses, dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites. Interesting. So all the firstborn in Egypt are dead. Now the Lord is saying, dedicate all the firstborn Israelites to me. The first offspring to be born of both humans and animals belong to me. So Moses said to the people, this is a day to remember forever, the day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today the Lord has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. On this day in early spring in the month of Abib, you have been set free. You must celebrate this event in this month each year after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 7 days the bread you eat must be made without yeast. Then on the seventh day celebrate a feast to the Lord. Eat bread without yeast during those 7 days. In fact, there must be no yeast bread or any yeast at all found within the borders of your land during this time. Again, gosh, a Bible study of why no yeast. Take note of that too. If you're curious, go study the ancient writings or just a Bible study, like why. You can investigate this. So I'm moving on for the sake of the reading. On the seventh day, you must explain to your children, I am celebrating what the Lord did for me when I left Egypt, you tell your little ones. This annual festival will be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. Let it remind you always to recite this teaching to the Lord, or this teaching of the Lord. With a strong hand, the Lord rescued you from Egypt. So observe the decree of this festival at the appointed time each year. Side note, elders and people of faith, it's up to us to teach our young people and following generations and your children of the things of God. The Israelites do this well. The Jewish people are strong in their traditions, and Christians need to do this same thing. Why? What do we believe? Why do we believe it? Study. Don't be afraid of the questions. Study, learn, grow. The scriptures say the wise grow wiser still. And if we ask the Lord for wisdom and discernment, he gives it. And it calls for the parents, moms and dads, elders to speak the things of God to the younger generations. And trust me, the younger generations are looking for mentors and fathers and mothers of the faith to point them to the Lord and answer questions. Now, the main goal is to teach them the ways of God quickly and to rely on the Lord, not to put their hope in men or people, our moms or dads. We honor our elders and our parents, but we must turn them to the Lord. And we keep our hearts towards the Lord because people, we mess up and we fail. Our goal is to point them to the one who doesn't fail, the eternal one. Okay, so we must do that. Verse 11, this is what you must do when the Lord fulfills the promise he swore to you and your ancestors. When he gives you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to the Lord, for they belong to him. A firstborn donkey may be bought back from the Lord by presenting a lamb or a young goat in its place. But if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck. Oh, amazing. However, you must buy back every firstborn son. So they weren't going to break the necks of the kids. No, the animals, yes, they would be used as sacrifice to the Lord. The children were dedicated to the Lord, and you were required to make an offering for your firstborn sons. Verse 14, and in the future your children will ask you, what does all this mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, the place of our slavery. Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, so the Lord killed all the firstborn males throughout the land of Egypt, both people and animals. That is why I now sacrifice all the firstborn males to the Lord, except that the firstborn sons are always bought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of the Lord's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. Man, so powerful. So much to unpack, but we're doing the readings, right? But that's inspiring, and that's how we get charged to chew on that farther, or do Bible studies or word studies. And much of that is available online, folks. It's not like we have to go to Bible school, although that's fun too. All right, today's Psalm, January 31st, Psalm 25, starting at 16. Yeah, 25, 16 through the end. So here we are. The Lord is good. I'm going to back up just a little bit. The Lord is good and does what is right. That's Psalm 25, verse 8. He shows the proper path to those who go astray. He leads the humble in doing right, teaching them his way. The Lord leads with unfailing love and faithfulness all who keep his covenant and obey his demands. For the honor of your name, O Lord, forgive my many, many sins. Who are those who fear the Lord? He will show them the path they should choose. They will live in prosperity, and their children will inherit the land. The Lord is a friend to those who fear him. He teaches them his covenant. Fear in this sense is like, yes, awe. There's always this sense of, wow. It's not like, it can be trembling because God is amazing, but it's like, like God is so awesome. He's powerful. He's your father, though. In the new covenant, he becomes your friend. This awesome God, this fearful God, the one who's could make us shake now, covered in Christ and in the Lord. If you're in the Lord, he dwells in you as living stones. Such a paradox, right? And yet we're in awe in him. Wow, verse 15, my eyes are always on the Lord, for he rescues me from the traps of my enemies. Now here's verse 16, turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone in deep distress. So this is the psalmist saying, turn to me and have mercy, for I'm alone and in deep distress. My problems go from bad to worse. Oh, save me from them all. Boy, don't we all feel that way at one time or another. Wow, feel my pain and see my trouble. Forgive all my sins. He does in Christ, only in Christ. See how many enemies I have, how viciously they hate me. Protect me, Lord. Rescue my life from them. Do not let me be disgraced, for in you I take refuge. May integrity and honesty protect me, for I put my hope in you. Side note here, verse 21. May integrity and honesty protect me. It's a hope of our works and goodness. The psalmist is still in the old covenant. And now you have to remember, no, your protection and your strength and your integrity are all in the Lord. You get that? So in that time, they had to live as righteously as they could. They had to observe the laws, even though it was impossible. They had to follow it as much as they could and walk in the fear of the Lord, because the Lord was not in, God was still apart from mankind, in the sense they were living under the law and the old covenant. So it's super important as Christians, as believers, as those that have received the sacrifice of Christ, realize that you're under a new law. Even though we honor the law and we make it is sacred, all of Scripture is good. I have to say this. But don't step into pride thinking, well, I'm good, I don't sin, or my integrity, my goodness, my righteousness, my honesty gives me credit, that protects me. No, Our righteousness, our fullness of being covered and loved and fulfilled and whatever, is found under the blood covenant of Christ, nothing else. We have to remember that. Verse 22 to finish the psalm. Oh God, ransom Israel from all its troubles. So David is crying out to God in his time, in that period of time, how he knew it worked. Very important to remember that. And that's the end of Psalm 25. We are going to move on to Proverbs 6, 12 through 15. Wow, Proverbs 6, 12 through 16. What are worthless and wicked people like? They are constant liars, signaling their deceit with a wink of the eye, a nudge of the foot, or the wiggle of fingers. Their perverted hearts plot evil, and they constantly stir up trouble. But they will be destroyed suddenly, broken in an instant beyond all hope of healing. Wow, something to take note of. Never be deceitful, never be conniving, never be underhanded. That's what evil people do. And that's where the fear of the Lord, the awe of God, keeps us in a place of honoring Him with His righteousness, us living it out. Very important. Okay, we're going on to Matthew. So here we go, Matthew 20, 29 through 21, 22. So we are at 20, Matthew 20, starting at 29 right here. So as Jesus and the disciples left the town of Jericho, remember I finished last night or yesterday with Jesus' amazing statement. Remember he says, verse 27, whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave, because they're, the dickering, arguing over who's going to be great. The disciples are thinking, I want to be here. I want to have rank. The Lord's blowing all that out. Remember, and it finished with, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. Verse 29, as Jesus and the disciples left the town of Jericho, a large crowd followed behind. They followed behind. Two blind men were sitting beside the road. When they heard that Jesus was coming that way, they began shouting, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. Be quiet, the crowd yells. But they only shouted louder, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. When Jesus heard them, he stopped and called, what do you want me to do for you? As if he didn't know. Lord, they said, we want to see. Jesus felt sorry for them and touched their eyes. Instantly they could see. Then they followed him. Some more disciples right there. Chapter 21 of Matthew, going all the way to verse 22. As Jesus and the disciples approached Jerusalem, they came to the town of Bethphage on the Mount of Olives. Jesus sent two of them on ahead. Go into the village over there, he said. As soon as you enter it, you will see a donkey tied there with its colt beside it, Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone asks what you are doing, just say, 'The Lord needs them,' and he will immediately let you take them." This took place to fulfill the prophecy that said, "Tell the people of Jerusalem, look, your king is coming to you. He is humble, riding on a donkey, riding on a donkey's colt." Verse 6, the two disciples did just as Jesus commanded. They brought the donkey and the colt to him, threw their garments over the colt, and he sat on it. Most of the crowd spread their garments on the road ahead of him, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Jesus was in the center of the procession, and the people all around him were shouting, "Praise God for the Son of David! Blessings on the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Praise God in highest heaven." Now, some of you have heard that in Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. Verse 10, the entire city of Jerusalem was in an uproar as he entered. "Who is this?" they asked. And the crowds replied, "It's Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." Many people still didn't get that he is Messiah, Yeshua, the Son of the living God. They just think a great prophet has arisen. See? So that's how they're seeing it. It's Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out all the people buying and selling animals. Are we reading this far? Yes, we're reading 21 to 22. And we'll finish that out. So yeah, gosh, the temple. So he entered and began to drive them out, all the people buying and selling animals for sacrifice. He knocked over tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves. He said to them, "The scriptures declare my temple will be called a house of prayer, but you have turned it into a den of thieves." The blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. The leading priests and the teachers of religious law saw these wonderful miracles and heard even the children in the temple shouting, "Praise God for the Son of David." But the leaders were indignant. They asked Jesus, "Do you hear what these children are saying?" "Yes," Jesus replied. "Haven't you ever read the scriptures? For they say, 'You have taught children and infants to give you praise.'" Then he returned to Bethany, where he stayed overnight. In the morning, as Jesus was returning to Jerusalem, he was hungry, and he noticed a fig tree beside the road. He went over to see if there were any figs, but there were only leaves. Then he said to it, "May you never bear fruit again." And immediately the fig tree withered up. Wow, too much to unpack there. The disciples were amazed when they saw this and asked, "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" Then Jesus told them, "I tell you the truth. If you have faith and don't doubt, you can do things like this and much more. You can even say to this mountain, may you be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. You can pray for anything, and if you have faith, you will receive it." That's the end of today's reading, but man, that's a word to go to bed on. If it's morning for you that you're watching this, it's something to chew on all day long. It's something that's a red letter moment. It's an X on the page. My Bible, I have marks and X's and things like, man, I got to think about that or pray over that or ask the Lord about that. You can pray for anything. If you have faith, you will receive it. May it be so. Lord, teach us your ways and show us how to walk in it. God bless you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.